Ah, the marvellous George Benson. It feels kind of funny being down on Costa del Sol this summer without George Benson playing, because he seems to be a bit of an institution. I think I've seen him play 4 times in the past 8 years. George Benson with the classic "Lady Love Me One More Time." Need to talk now, with the time coming up to about 24 minutes past, about an incredible story, speaking with Julie McSorley about perhaps the most unconventional way I've ever heard of getting back to your home country. In 1964, an Australian javeler called Reg Spiers, yes, an Australian javeler called Reg Spiers, decided to get back to Australia after competing in the UK in a most unconventional fashion. I'll speak to Julie. In fact, I'm delighted to have joining me from the line from southern Spain, Julie McSorley herself, who can perhaps tell me a little more about what happened. Julie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Giles.
How are you this afternoon?
Really good, thanks.
Good. So just fill me in a little bit, because it is perhaps the most unconventional way of returning anywhere, never mind back to Australia, that I've ever heard. Fill me in with a bit of the background.
Sure. Giles, it really is an incredible true story. It all started in 1964 when the British javelin thrower John McSorley got a surprise visit from his Aussie counterpart. And so John and Reg Spiers, amazing name for a javelin.
Good name for a javelin thrower, Spiers, yeah.
Reg Spiers. Got together. They hadn't seen each other since the 1962 Commonwealth Games, and they were trying out for the Tokyo Olympics. Unfortunately, they both had injuries, and Reg really desperately needed to get back to Australia to see his girlfriend. And as luck would have it, he'd run out of money. He'd had his wallet stolen, and he was desperate. Now, Reg is a fairly unconventional guy. He's a great friend of ours, a great guy, but he doesn't do things in a conventional way. So he wasn't prepared to wait. So one day in the gym, the guys hatched up this harebrained scheme that John, who happened to be very good at carpentry, would build a box and send him back as air freight.
Build a box?
In a box.
Please go on.
I know, it's amazing. And so, with the help of a couple of friends, they delivered the box with Reg, the Aussie javelin thrower, inside, left him at the freight department of Heathrow Airport. Now, if it had all gone smoothly, it might not have been so dramatic, but of course these things never do go smoothly. And what happened for a kick-off is that the flight was delayed. So Reg actually spent 20-something hours still in the warehouse at Heathrow Airport before he even got loaded onto a plane. The whole journey, 13,000 miles, 63 hours, via France, Bombay, Singapore, etc. You know what a long trip it is to Australia. I'm sure you've done that trip before.
Right.
Was just fraught. He was dangled on forklift trucks. He nearly dehydrated on the tarmac of Bombay. He had people sitting on his box, you know, the workers, the airport loaders, eating their lunch. And by the way, he wasn't happy just to stay in the box. He got out in the hold, wandered around, checked out his fellow freight.
How big are we talking, like a coffin-sized box? Could he stand up? Could he sit down? How big was this box?
Well, the box was, if you think about a coffin, so sort of 5.5 to, you know, a nice chunky, but it wasn't long enough for him to lie down flat. It was under 6 feet because there were regulations in those days about the size of freight. And so the box was the largest box that you could actually send as air freight. He could only lie down with his knees bent or sit up with his legs straight. And, of course, if you've got a journey of that size, you need, to take care of your toiletry requirements and have some food with you, etc. So, look, it was just absolutely amazing. 63 hours. It's got to be some kind of record, hasn't it, Giles?
I mean, what did he take with him? I mean, did he take did he sort of take 3 litres of water and a litre bottle to sort of pee in? Or how did he manage?
He had 2 bottles, one for peeing in and one for drinking. And, of course, John's big warning to him before he left was, for God's sake, don't get them muddled up. you're going to have enough problems. He took, cans of food, but look, there's little things like, the airport loaders get on and you hear somebody saying, "There's no animals on this flight, are they?" Because they obviously sensed some breathing or some shuffling. Just some amazing little anecdotes, and that is really the signature event. Being in that box for 63 hours is very much the signature event of what is actually a much larger story. But it went on from there. But people always want to know, but is the hold pressurized? Did he find out? And of course he did find out. But I mean, an awful lot was left to chance. And of course, once you got to the other end, Giles, that wasn't the end of the story, because you still have to break out of your box, and you have to break out of the warehouse, and you have to break out of the airport.
I was going to say, how did he manage that one?
Well, Reg was an athlete. He was one of the top Australian javelin throwers at the time. He won the national championships twice. He was in the Commonwealth Games. He was a very fit guy. And, he could outrun any airport worker. And he was a real Aussie larrikin, and he's a great friend of ours. And he was a real daredevil, and we need daredevils with exciting stories, don't we?
What was the most dangerous thing? Was it being dangled above the tarmac in Bombay, or?
I think the dehydration, and there was one other very important thing, the fear that he could somehow get wedged in and left. If you're actually in with freight, for example, when he was actually put in the first warehouse at Heathrow, they stuck him right at the top of a big pile of freight. Now, you imagine if he'd been stuck in the middle somewhere and that flight had been delayed a few days, then he wouldn't have been able to have got out of his box, because other boxes would have encumbered him. John made the box very carefully. He actually made it with 2 removable ends, and he made it for that reason, so that in an emergency, Reg could just undo the little internal latches and kick the ends out. Also, it had little penny-width gaps, so that he could still get some ventilation. But he reckoned on the tarmac at Bombay in that midday sun, it got pretty unbearable. I'm not good in enclosed spaces at all, but the very thought of being stuck at the bottom of a pile of freight would just absolutely do it for me. Absolutely. And when he was really dehydrating badly in Bombay, he actually just had to take all his clothes off. So that, you had some mad, naked Australian man in the box on the tarmac at Bombay Airport. It's just incredible.
Well, we've heard of quite a few in Earl's Courts, but that's another story. So it's inspired you, of course, to come up with a novel based on these events.
Well, it has, and it's co-authored. What happened was our family has had this story for years and years, and my son Marcus McSorley, who's the co-author, really was the brains behind this. He actually said, nobody else is going to write this book. I need to do it, but I'm very busy, and he enlisted my help, and we co-authored it together, and it's taken quite a long time, because we didn't want to write it as a sort of biography, so we wanted to write it very much as a drama, so that, when you read the book, you could be reading any sort of exciting thriller drama. The only difference is this story is true. And it's a story that has a wonderful sort of saga feel to it, because, of course, as I said, the box is the signature event, but good old Reg went on and became famous in so many other ways that weren't to do with throwing the javelin. He actually ended up, after the box event, not getting rid of his sort of impulsiveness and daredevil ways, bless him, and he ended up being wanted by Interpol, skipping bail on drug smuggling charges, and he actually, over a period of 7 years, ended up on death row in Sri Lanka.
Ah, right. So, yes, quite an interesting character. They said not the place that not that you want to end up in death row anyway, but to be thrown in a Sri Lankan jail, a bit of a character-building experience as well, you'd have to say.
Absolutely. And so there was a whole story. The box is incredible in itself, but it's almost more incredible because of what then transpired. And so you've got the signature box story, and then a real sort of Shantaram Midnight Express exciting love story, because he actually went on the run with his girlfriend, and so it's a real sort of Bonnie and Clyde tale, very, very international, and it's, you know, a story that has always intrigued our friends, you know, being told round dinner tables late at night. And so I'm really glad that Marcus, you know, came up with this idea. I mean, it was difficult for him because he's an actor in London and doesn't have a lot of time.
Right.
And so, you know, he was frustrated that he couldn't, you know, just do it on his own. So it was really great because we'd always wanted to do a project of some sort together, and it's been an absolute delight. But the problem is one never knows when to stop because you just want to keep tinkering. So we've decided we're not tinkering anymore, and so we'll actually get the book out in the next few months. Is Reg still
with us? Is he in Australia, or what happened to Reg?
Reg is in Australia. He's visited us twice in Spain. Actually, he came out to John's big birthday party at El Chaparral about 18 months ago, which is great. He's visited us twice here. He's still a real character, larger than life. Loves La Cala, which is where I'm based.
Right.
Loves travelling. And so, yeah, look, you can't keep certain people down, and he's still got exactly the same personality. He's just, as we all are, a bit older.
What's his reaction been like to the fact that he's going to be immortalised in a novel?
Oh, he's been 100% behind it. In fact, when it first eventuated, you know, back in the 60s, there were a lot of people that wanted to write about it, I think, then. But he really didn't want to get involved in all that, and then he had his other problems with, you know, being pursued by the Australian feds, and so really now he thinks it's time. John and I spent a lot of time in Australia, and so did Marcus, and Reg being Australian, came up from Adelaide to visit us in Queensland. And one crazy weekend, you know, I put Marcus's idea to him, and he said, "Yeah, I think it's time." He said, "I think if we're going to do it, it'd be nice to do it in my lifetime." So I think it's great that, you know, at last the story will be told. And it's interesting, actually, because that year of Reg getting in the box was 1964. And as I said, John and Reg were trying out for the Tokyo Olympics and didn't make it. But, of course, Lynn Davis went to the Olympics and won his brilliant gold medal. And Lynn has done the foreword for our book. Lynn Davis, the long jumper.
Right, okay, fantastic. I mean, it's even more, the book sounds fantastic. This has got all the hallmarks, I think, of an award-winning film as well. I mean, there's got to be a screenplay of this. If your son is an actor, he must be, or even a fabulous one-man show.
Well, so many people have said that, Giles, and that it should be a movie, and so we sort of think, well, let's do the book, and you know, hopefully we'll have, you know, whetted people's appetite chatting about it today, and you know, we've done a few readings and things as well. But it would be wonderful to see it on the big screen, certainly.
If people want to find out a little bit more about that, I believe there is a website they can find out about the incredible story.
There is. It's www.outoftheboxstory.com. www.outoftheboxstory.com, and if anybody wants to ask any questions on the website, or you know, they're interested in getting a copy of the book when it's out, then we'd be really, really happy to, you know, keep their details and keep them informed.
Julie, it's a fantastic story. It really is one of those, because you sent it to me as an email about sleeping at the airports, and I just looked at it and went, "You're having a laugh, aren't you?" It's a fantastic story. It really is a boy's own thing. Only an Aussie could do something like putting himself in a box and get, you know, just freighting himself to Australia. As I said before, if you want to check out more, www.outoftheboxstory.com is the website. Julie, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure, Giles. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Take care. Speak soon.
And you. Bye, Giles.
Bye.
Bye.